Next discussion. It's by a person who's deeply studied society, people, and culture. And in one of our coffee conversations with him, when we were talking about artificial intelligence, LLMs, music, culture, Professor Uwe suddenly stands up and says, "Why don't you ask Claude these questions?" And I won't give away what questions they were, but the reply was, "Why don't you ask Professor Ronstrom?" So here we have Professor Ronstrom.
Yes, thank you. It's nice to be here. I was asked to think about identity as AI becomes increasingly human-like. What then happens with our identity? Well, from an ethnologist perspective, I'm a humanistic. From the humanistics, identity is somewhat tricky. But let's start with a simple observation. AI has already been assigned a human-like identity because many people do interact with chatbots much as they would do with any human partner. They call them by name, they greet them, they thank them, ask how are you doing, even falling in love with them. And as we just heard, these agents behave now more and more like humans. And to that could be added, of course, that people are now rapidly also becoming skilled at recognizing fingerprints of AI in texts, films, music, images, and more. AI simply seems to do things in an AI-like way. Part of the reason for this is, of course, that an larger share of the data AI trains on is now itself AI-generated. A feedback loop will emerge, or has already emerged, which AI increasingly learns from AI, and as a result becoming more and more AI-ish. So over time, AI will eventually develop an increasingly distinct AI-ish identity, in many ways human-like, humanoid, or whatever you like to call it, like a new species, maybe. And what will happen then? How will AI affect our identity as humans? And based on many research, years of research about human identity forming processes, a fairly educated guess is that the more closely AI comes to resemble us, the more strongly we will search for what makes us uniquely human. So whenever something resembles us, two forces come into play. One seeks similarities, asking whether we belong together, whether we are related, whether we are the members of the same family or group or whatever. And the other will seek differences in order to make distinctions and set boundaries. But since the world is already full, it contains already more than enough of differences. What is required is not a difference, but a difference that makes a difference. That's something other. So if AI becomes increasingly humanoid and crosses the established borders between humans and machines or whatever, these boundaries will be challenged, which in turn will activate boundary maintaining mechanisms, and we will start searching for new distinctions and new differences that make a difference. And we will continue to reproduce and safeguard the boundaries between ourselves and the world around, just as we have always done. So our identity, I hold, will remain, but it will be different. So then, what kinds of difference might make a difference in relation to AI? It already seems obvious that AI is exceptionally powerful in large-scale logical systems with a clear structure: mathematics, physics, chemistry, legal text, organizational system, whatnot. And not least the ability to search and process and synthesize unimaginably vast amounts of information. And after all, this is hardly surprising, since AI was modeled on precisely those aspects of human cognition. But can AI flirt? What about small talk, gossip? What about slang? We asked Claude Pro version, can you do slang? After some thinking, the answer was no. Claude answered, And no, and explained, because, I quote here, himself or herself, I don't know actually, Claude. Anyway, itself. Slang is a socially embedded, phonetically playful, and typically hides meaning from people outside the group. I can invent words, but I can't invent slang, because slang requires people. Okay, fair enough. But then, can AI tell a joke? We asked that also, and it replied, yes, I can produce a text that has the structure of a joke. I can do it on demand in any style about any topic. But then continued, a joke, like slang, is a social and performative phenomenon. I can generate the script of a joke, but the joke itself only happens when a human performs it in a real social moment. And the obvious follow-up question then was, do you laugh at jokes? Do you experience humor? And Claude answered somewhat pessimistic, somewhat in a very sort of strange mode. No, I don't laugh. I am genuinely uncertain about humor. What I can do is identify something that's considered funny according to the logic of joke theory and write, haha, or that's funny. And then, in its characteristically logically and well-structured manner, Claude added what I think is a crucial insight. You don't decide to find something funny, it hits you. I'm made of patterns. Genuine surprise may be structurally impossible for me. Humor exists only between people in a shared moment in a room, and Claude said, I'm never fully in a room with anyone. In short then, Claude doesn't know how to have fun. It doesn't know how to play. For a human, that would be a rather depressive insight, since fun and play is such a fundamental aspect of human life. And indeed, to most living creatures, dogs, cats, birds, all kinds of animals play. There is even a fascinating study that suggests that even the butterflies do play a lot. But not Claude. An AI based on language models that does not recognize one of the very fundamentals of language, fun and humor. Why is that? My wife, she's a special education teacher working with children with special needs. She immediately found the answer. She suggests it's because AI is an autist. AI is clearly autistic. It suffers from severe form of autism that makes it follow explicit rules all the time and at every instance. And play, as we know, does not. Play is profoundly social. It depends on participants, context, time, place, and therefore fragile, rapidly changing, and often completely unpredictable. Play relies on the ability to engage in meta-communication. While the direct message says one thing, the meta-message says something else. And this is difficult for autists. And as Claude found, also for rational systems and logical language models. And this brings me to what I believe is a reasonably well-founded hypothesis. When AI over time becomes increasingly AI-ish humanoid, we humans will be increasingly, what? Humanistically human, perhaps? So AI is really now rapidly taking over more and more of what is already AI-ish activities built on logic, structures, systems, formal rules, and that will likely trigger new boundary maintaining mechanisms. Humans will go on to search for differences that make a difference and increasingly define themselves through what AI is not. And here we are, jokes, fun, humor, playfulness, art, flirtation, love, all what is contained within that simple word, play. Ludo ergo sum. I play, therefore I am. Isn't it remarkable what playful human beings are capable of creating? At the end of the day, isn't Homo ludens, the playing human, the actual creator of this new world of wonders that we call AI? And I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have happened if they hadn't had fun along the way. To sum up, let me sum up the argument here appropriately enough with a final joke in a philosophical and quite serious manner, a mode. This joke goes like this. Late at night, in a gulag camp in Siberia, the prisoners entertain themselves in the only way they can, by telling jokes. But since they have already been there too long, every joke had already been told countless times. So they had streamlined the whole thing and assigned a number to each joke. So this is how it goes on. One prisoner calls out, 19! Ho, ho, ho. Everybody laughs. Another shouts, 37! Yeah, good! And that's a good one. More laughter. 64! Hee hee! 92! And the laughter grows louder and louder. And there is a newcomer. His first night maybe. Confused at first. He eventually thinks, that seems easy enough. So he confidently shouts, 26. Nothing. Totally silence. Painful embarrassment. After a while, another prisoner starts over again and says, okay, but let's say 14. And the laughter begins again and continues until lights out. The next morning, the newcomer asks one of the old-timers, when you told your jokes, everybody laughed. When I told mine, nobody laughed at all. Why? The old prisoner thought for a moment and replied, well, there's nothing wrong with the joke. It's a really good one. It was more like how you told it. Thank you.